Hello again, class. I'm going to do some water distribution above ground. Now, this would be the hot and cold water, right? Cold water distribution. One thing I'd like to clear up, I think I mentioned that the city or town will determine the water. I was thinking of water distribution, and actually, we were talking about drainage and vents underground. So, drainage and vents underground are strictly part of the plumbing code. The difference is the water service coming from like the street into the house. That is determined by the city or town. That's what we're coming into right now. So those notes that that comment I made about the city or town applies to this piping we're getting into right now. I got ahead of myself on that. Okay, what I'd like you to do is to go to the bottom of page 105. That says water distribution below ground. Okay, now think about this. This is below ground, but inside the building. So you might come up to the meter and then go under the floor. We'll say it's a finished basement, or it's a house with no basement, and you need to get across to the other side. So even though you're inside the house, you're under the floor. Okay, so when they say under the floor, they mean below the concrete. All right, so what's legal below the concrete? Now, what I did, and I know that you're probably using the downloaded material that my wife sent to you. I hope that you have these code books very soon, because I'm going to stop downloading this stuff pretty soon, probably within a week or so. So be sure that you get those code books. Uh, Bottom page 105, if it copied like I hope it did, you'll see a line drawn across, which I put there. This just helps highlight where this is. Since they don't have chapters like in regular book, this is the way that I find that it's easier. And also what I did, and I don't think you can see it because I don't think it's in color, I got it in parentheses. I got below ground and inside the building. Okay, those are what you need to know, which I have up here. And I was about to start writing the material. I'm going to stop the number. I'm not going to put on there. It doesn't make any difference what number it is. But below ground water piping coming into the house would be not into the house, under the floor of the house would be either type L or K. Okay? Both of them are legal inside the house. Now, this is not water service coming in. We've already come into the house. In other words, we're past the meter. We're in the house. All right. You have to go back under the floor. All right. So this would be L or K is legal. Okay. The next one, they do mention copper alloy tubing. Let's skip over that. Copper core insulated cement pipe. You're not going to see any of this stuff. Not around here. And the next one is cross-linked polyethylene. Okay, which we call PEX. Okay, so PEX actually is pretty good stuff. They allow you to use it underground. Right, PEX is pretty durable. And remember what that means, cross-linked polyethylene. Now, the night that I learned about this was probably maybe 20, 23 years ago, something like that. Somebody from a supply house up in Andover, Mass, came down to Rogers High School in Newport, and they have a vocational wing for that school. It's not a vocational school, but they have a vocational wing, kind of like Durfee's vocational program. Anyway, he put on a presentation. This guy was a representative of the PEX company called Wurzbo, which some of you have probably already used, and it was very good. And he said that this PEX tubing, when he described it, now, I don't know if I covered this with you last week or it was the tier one, but in any case, if you didn't get it, it's like a piece of plywood. You got the grain going one way, and then the next layer goes that way and back. It alternates so that plywood is equally strong, even though it's flexible in all directions. But if you took a wood shingle, you snap it when you have it, the grain going, you snap it with the grain, right? Sideways, it's not so easy. So polyethylene itself, like ice maker tubing, is not that durable and is not legal. The ice maker kit, the saddle valve is illegal, and so is the tubing. So you got a double header on that one. You shouldn't be using it. You should be using like some copper tubing and a regular T and a shutoff on an ice maker. Okay, so this PEX is good stuff. They can't wear it out in laboratories, according to this salesman or this guy making the presentation. They're estimating 500 years. They just couldn't wear it out in the laboratory. All right, next page. All right, it changes. It goes from below ground. As soon as you turn the page, 106, water distribution above ground. Okay, so what they do is they go from below ground to above ground. All right, the first one I'm going to put here, all below ground piping. Okay, so obviously K or L, heavyweight copper, can be used above or below ground. PEX, same thing. You can use it above ground if you want. Now, in addition, because it's above ground, they give you a little more flexibility here. You can use CPVC, which I know some of you do use for water piping. Chlorinated polyvinyl chloride. Don't forget that. Write it down if you don't know it. Chlorinated polyvinyl chloride. Okay, so that's allowed above ground, but not below ground. And it's good only up to 60 feet. Right, that is a limitation. Or 6 stories. Okay, 6 stories in height, 60 feet, which is usually the same thing, since each story is about 10 feet. And they have a few other types of pipe here. Oh, galvanized pops up again, but I didn't have it highlighted. Okay, galvanized can be used for drainage or hot and cold water. Right, it's not very good for either one. It used to corrode and block up on the inside. Some of you guys might have seen it. Not very good pipe. And that's about it. So the list for above ground water pipe inside the building now. We're not outside where you might want to call it water service. This is inside the building. So this is part of the Mass Code. Type L or K. You can't use M or DWV for water pipe, water pressure pipe, right? Water distribution, right? So the L or K is used below ground and above ground. The biggest difference is, this is the big one right here, CPVC. And I know a lot of you guys use CPVC for water piping. And that's fine. The stuff is durable. I was never crazy about it, but it is durable. And galvanized. Again, I've been around a long time. And even when I came into the trade, galvanized was not being used. Maybe on vents and commercial buildings, but that's about it. And even then, we never put them in. Right, we were using copper and cast iron. Okay, so there's your water distribution. Below ground, above ground, inside the building. There's a big one, right? Outside the building, different story. Okay, and they go right from water distribution to PEX alone. Okay, a few things about PEX I'm going to write down. Besides being allowed above ground and below ground, right? PEX can be used 3 stories in height, right? That's maximum. Can't go too high with that stuff. All right, it is limited. And you have to stay away from water heaters. Okay, here's your heater, and you have to come up here 24 inches, right, before you can switch to PEX. So this would probably be, say, copper tubing, right here, 24 inches, right? I think most of you know that. So if you're using PEX, CPVC, or any kind of plastic, you got to go 24 inches off the heater with copper before you can switch over. I guess they don't want the heat from the heater on the plastic tubing for safety. I don't think it'll have any effect on it. Okay. PEX tubing ends at the bottom, actually the very top of page 107, just above the PVC, the start of the PVC. And they get into polybutylene. We'll talk about that live a little bit, but not a big deal. Okay, that's it. I will see you a little later in class.